My nephew tore the turkey leg out of my 8-year-old daughter's hands at Thanksgiving, waved it over his head like a trophy, and screamed, "Mine now, loser," while my mother actually clapped and cooed. That's my little alpha male, showing the world who's boss. 10 minutes later, Mom slid the new will across the table and told me Harper and I were officially erased from it. That was the moment I knew my parents would never breathe the same air as my daughter again. I'm Jenna, 36, married to Ryan for 12 years, mom to Harper, the quietest, kindest soul on the planet. For 5 solid years, I'd been watching my family morph into strangers who worshipped a spoiled 10-year-old boy and treated my little girl like background noise. That Thanksgiving was the day the background noise finally roared. Let me paint the whole ugly picture so you understand exactly who these people became. My sister Lauren has always been the loud, charismatic one. Captain of the soccer team, homecoming court, the girl who could talk her way out of anything. At 19, she got pregnant by a guy named Trent who played guitar in a band that never left Ohio. They got married in a courthouse, divorced 4 years ago in the same courthouse, and Lauren plus Mason moved straight into Mom and Dad's 4-bedroom colonial in Dublin, Ohio. From that day forward, the house rules rewrote themselves around one child. Mom, Susan, 59, retired elementary school secretary, started introducing Mason as my only grandson, the one carrying on the Carter name. Dad, Greg, 62, retired John Deere sales manager, built a regulation-size hockey net in the backyard and hung a hand-painted sign that read Mason's rink. They bought season tickets to the Blue Jackets, just so they could take Mason to games and post photos with the caption, "3 generations of Carter men." Harper, meanwhile, is the kid who apologizes if she accidentally steps on an ant. She lines up her rock collection by color and whispers stories to them at night. She still believes in tooth fairies and cries at sad commercials. My parents used to call her our little artist. Then Mason arrived and Harper became furniture. The favoritism wasn't subtle. It was a daily assault. Family dinners were scheduled around Mason's travel hockey practice. Mom bought only the dinosaur-shaped chicken nuggets Mason would eat. Harper asked for macaroni and cheese once and Mom sighed, "We don't keep that in the house anymore, honey." Mason doesn't like the smell. Birthdays. Mason's 9th was at main event, laser tag, pizza, 50 kids, a custom jersey cake. Harper's 8th was a sheet cake from Giant Eagle and 4 presents because we're saving for Mason's new Bauer skates. I swallowed it all. I told myself grandparents are allowed preferences. I was wrong. Last Easter, Mason accidentally poured an entire bottle of blue Gatorade down the front of Harper's new white dress, right before family photos at church. Mom laughed so hard she had to dab her eyes and said, "Oh my goodness, boys will be boys." Honestly, the blue kind of brightens the dress. Dad slipped Mason a 20 for being honest about the spill. Harper spent the service in the bathroom with me trying to blot the stain while she cried silently. I still didn't say the big thing. I hate that I didn't. This year I decided enough. I volunteered to host Thanksgiving for the first time ever. Ryan and I spent a full week preparing. I brined a 20-pound turkey for 48 hours, made my great-grandma's sausage sage stuffing from scratch, baked 3 pies, pumpkin, pecan, and Harper's favorite apple crumb. Harper spent 2 nights painting turkey place cards with watercolors. Little cartoon turkeys wearing pilgrim hats, each one labeled with a guest's name in her perfect, careful printing. She was so proud she carried them around the house like treasure. I wanted one single holiday where my daughter felt like the center of someone's universe. They showed up 45 minutes early, classic power move. Mom swept in carrying a store-bought pumpkin pie in a plastic clamshell she didn't even pretend was homemade. Dad had his phone already recording. Mason exploded through the door yelling, "Where's the food? I'm starving after practice." He was wearing full hockey gear minus the skates, because apparently that's normal dinner attire now. Lauren followed, scrolling TikTok, barely glancing up. "Mason, take your pads off in the house, babe." He ignored her. Of course. We finally sat down. I'd set the kids at the little table like Mom always did when we were young. Harper had even asked for the big girl job of passing rolls. She carried the basket to Mason first because manners. He grabbed 3 rolls, then reached across and snatched the drumstick right off her plate before she could sit. "Mine now, loser," he bellowed, waving it like he'd scored the Stanley Cup. Harper froze. Her lower lip trembled. I opened my mouth, but Mom beat me to it. She actually clapped, slow, delighted claps, and said, loud enough for the whole table, "That's my little alpha male. Survival of the fittest at the Thanksgiving table." Dad zoomed his phone in. "This is gold." Caption: Carter men claim their territory. Lauren snorted. "God, he's savage." Future NHL material. Ryan's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. I felt every drop of blood in my body rush to my face. "Mason," I said, trying to keep my voice level, "put the drumstick back on Harper's plate and apologize." He smirked, took a huge greasy bite, and talked with his mouth full. "Make me." Mom shot me a look that said, "Don't you dare ruin the vibe." Harper's eyes filled. She whispered, "Mommy." Ryan stood up so fast his chair screeched. "Everybody listen." His voice had that calm, deadly edge that means the Marine in him is about to surface. "This is our house." Mason, drumstick on Harper's plate. "Now, then you apologize." Mason looked at Mom. Mom gave the tiniest shake of her head. The same head shake she used to give Lauren when she wanted to stay out past curfew. Message received. Mason dropped the half-eaten leg onto the floor. Gravy splattered across Harper's watercolor place card, bleeding the turkey's little pilgrim hat into a brown smear. Harper let out one shattered sob and bolted from the table. I was shaking. I should have ended it right there. But I was still clinging to the fantasy that if I just kept the peace, they'd come around. After the plates were cleared, Ryan silently doing most of the work while Lauren checked her phone, Mom asked me to step into the living room for a quick family meeting. Dad was already seated on the couch, manila folder in his lap like he'd rehearsed this moment. "Sit, honey," Mom said, patting the cushion. I stayed standing. Dad cleared his throat the way he used to before lecturing us about grades. "Your mother and I have been doing a lot of estate planning. We met with the attorney last month and made some updates we think are fair." He opened the folder and slid the document across the coffee table. I only had to read the first paragraph. Everything, the house paid off in 2012, the 401(k)s, the brokerage account, the lake cabin on Buckeye Lake we'd spent every summer at since I could walk, now went to our beloved grandson Mason James Carter, to be held in trust until age 25, at which time he shall receive full and unrestricted ownership. My name wasn't mentioned. Harper's name wasn't mentioned. Lauren was listed as trustee, in the event both grantors are deceased. I looked up. "You rewrote your entire will to give everything to a 10-year-old who just stole food off his cousin's plate and you all cheered?" Mom had the gall to look impatient. "Jenna, Mason is the only one carrying on the Carter name. And honestly, he needs the security more. Lauren's had such a rough go with the divorce. And you and Ryan are doing just fine on your own." Dad nodded solemnly. "We have to protect the bloodline." The bloodline. Like my daughter was a rescue from a shelter. Upstairs I could hear Ryan reading Harper her unicorn book in that deliberately soft voice he uses when the world is too loud for her. I laughed. Came out sharp and ugly. "You think Ryan and I are doing fine because we both work 60-hour weeks so Harper can take the art classes you never pay for? You think the lake cabin, where I learned to swim, where I had my first kiss on the dock, should go to a kid who can't spell responsibility because he has a penis and the same last name?" Mom's lips thinned. "Watch your tone." "No," I said. "You watch mine. Get out of my house." Dad tried the disappointed dad voice. "It's Thanksgiving, Jenna." "Exactly. Take your new will, your alpha male, and your store-bought pie and leave." Lauren stormed in. "What is happening?" I handed her the will. She scanned it, and her face lit up like she'd won the lottery. Mason wandered in holding the Xbox controller Ryan bought Harper last Christmas. The one she maybe got to touch twice before Mason declared it his. "Can we take the leftover pie? And the Xbox?" I looked at my mother, really looked. The woman who used to read me Little House on the Prairie at night, who cried at my wedding, who once drove 3 hours to sit with me after my miscarriage, was smiling at the child who just made my daughter cry on a holiday. "Get out!" I repeated. They left in a tornado of slammed doors and screeching tires. Mom yelled from the driveway, "You're breaking your father's heart." Dad sat in the passenger seat staring straight ahead like a statue. Lauren flipped me off as they peeled away. Ryan found me on the porch 20 minutes later, freezing, holding the crumpled will. He didn't ask if I was sure. He just wrapped his arms around me and said, "We're done." The fallout was nuclear. By 9 p.m., the family group chat was a war zone. My Aunt Diane, who hadn't seen Harper since she was 4, texted, "Thanksgiving is about gratitude, not greed." Cousin Emily posted a 10-paragraph Facebook essay about forgiving family during the holidays with crying emojis. Mom sent 23 texts ranging from, "You've always been the dramatic one," to, "Your father is literally crying in the garage right now." I blocked every single one. 2 days later, a certified letter arrived, official copy of the will, "For your records." I used it to line the cat's litter box. Felt poetic. Christmas came. For the first time in 36 years, we didn't go to Mom and Dad's. Ryan's parents flew in from Tucson. We drank hot chocolate, built a gingerbread village, and Harper opened her presents under our tree without once having to fight for space. She got the professional easel she'd circled in the Dick Blick catalog for months. She painted our little family of 3 plus the cat and hung it on the fridge. Still there. Spring brought the karma nobody saw coming. Lauren's ex-husband Trent filed for emergency custody after Mason's 3rd suspension, this one for breaking another kid's nose during recess. The judge wasn't impressed with Mom's glowing character letter that somehow omitted the prior 2 incidents. Lauren lost primary custody and most of her child support. Suddenly, Mom and Dad had Mason every other week full-time. No more Florida snowbird trips. No more Tuesday steak dinners. Their retirement accounts started bleeding. New attorney fees, private therapist twice a week, hockey equipment that costs more than my first car. In June, Mom showed up at my office parking lot looking like she'd aged a decade. Gray roots, wrinkled blouse, eyes red. "Can we talk?" she whispered. I took her to the courtyard so my coworkers wouldn't witness the meltdown. "I was wrong." She started crying immediately. "We both were. We'll change everything back. Just please. We miss Harper so much. We miss you." I studied her. "Tell me Harper's favorite color." She blinked. Purple? It's teal. She's loved teal since preschool. You'd know that if you'd looked at her once without Mason blocking the view." Mom sobbed harder. "You don't get to fix 5 years of damage with one new piece of paper," I said. "You taught my daughter exactly what she's worth to you. I'm not letting you rewrite that lesson now that your golden child is more expensive than you planned." She left without another word. 2 years later, Harper is 10, confident, radiant. She made the gifted art program, has friends who beg to see her rock collection, and still apologizes to chairs. Ryan and I started a 529 the week after that Thanksgiving. It's already bigger than anything my parents ever saved. Mason is on a 6-month wait list for a therapeutic boarding school in Pennsylvania that costs $12,000 a month. Lauren moved into a 1-bedroom in Hilliard. My parents sold the lake cabin last month to pay legal bills. Harper sometimes asks why we don't see Grandma and Grandpa anymore. I tell her the truth she can handle right now. Some people show you with their actions that they don't have room for you. When that happens, we build our own family with people who do. Last week she painted a new picture. Our house glowing with teal hearts in every window. Underneath, in purple marker, "Home is where nobody has to fight to be seen." I hung it right next to the first one. Some inheritances aren't property or money. Some are the peace that comes when you finally close the door on people who never saw you in the first place. I choose the little girl who still believes in fairies. And I have never once looked back.